everybody, this is Andrew here with Tower Electric Bikes, and today we're going to walk through how to remove the rear wheel off of your Tower Electric bike. Being able to remove your rear wheel is something that is very, very handy. Obviously, you need to know how your bike works, and it's one of the critical spots. If you get a flat tire, it's very handy to know how to take this wheel on and off, for basic repairs. But it's something that a lot of people are very nervous about. They see the derailleur and the chain and the cassette, and then it's also a motor. They just get very intimidated by it. But removing the wheel is very straightforward and is definitely a skill that, everyone should know owning one of these bikes. And today we're going to walk through exactly how to do that. So some tools you will need for this job. You will need an 18mm wrench, that is for the axle nuts on either side. Then you will also need a 10mm wrench. The 10mm wrench is for the axle itself. We will show you how to use it on the axle in just a little bit. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get this chain into the smallest ring. Here on this bike, we already have it in position properly, but if yours is in any of these other gears, just go up to your shifter, press that gray button, pedal the bike around until it's in this smallest ring. We do that for two main reasons. One, it puts the derailleur furthest or closest to us, which is advantageous because we don't want it pushed inside where we're trying to work with a wheel. And then the other reason is when we're finally putting that wheel back in, we know exactly where to put that chain. We don't have to guess, oh man, which ring did I put it on? You can just put it in that small one, know you're good to go. So the first thing we're going to do after that chain is in its proper position is we're going to unplug the motor from the bike. Now this is a Beach Babe, so the routing on this one runs along the inside. If you have a Beach Bum, it is more than likely going to be running along this top. If it's a Beach Bum, you'll have a little clip that you'll just undo here. On the Beach Babe, you'll just sort of untuck it from its little alcove, and then when you see the two plug ends, just pull and it slots right out. That's simple. All right, the next step we're going to do is we're going to take these little axle covers off, and it's just a little rubber thing, just slides right off, and we want to be sure to take it off on both sides. So now that those covers are removed, now we are going to loosen / remove the axle nuts. So that's where you're going to grab your 18mm wrench and you are just going to start loosening. Now on the right side, the side with your drivetrain, you're going to want to be sure to take this nut all the way off. So one of the things that can happen is when this wheel slots out, this nut can actually push up against the top of the derailleur and can make it real difficult to get the wheel out. So it's just best just to take this nut all the way off, let it slide down on the cable, and we'll reinstall it at the end when we need to. All right, got those. Now we're gonna head to the other side and loosen this side as well. This side you don't necessarily have to take all the way off, but it is handy to have access to all the space and not have to worry about anything shimmying and sliding. So now both the axle nuts have been loosened, but one thing you'll notice is this wheel is still pretty firmly in the bike. Now that's where your 10mm wrench comes in. If you'll notice, there's flat sides on either of the axle. That helps slot into the frame and give sort of a nice hold so the motor can spin and actuate. But what can happen is obviously, it's a lot of torque being put on there, so they can sort of rotate and get lodged into the dropouts. So what this 10mm does, you can just slot it over, rotate it back and forth, and as you just saw, it helps break that hold and allows the wheel to drop. So now with the wheels out of the dropouts, you'll notice it's still sort of being held up. Now it's being held up here by your derailleur's pulley arm. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pull that back towards us, and then we'll see the whole wheel just rotates down. One of the other handy things is, the disc brakes on this bike, you don't have to open anything up. The whole rotor just slots right out of the disc pads. So there we are. We have your rear wheel removed on your Tower Electric bike. Now you may notice wheel's pretty heavy, so just get ready for that. It is, besides the battery, probably the heaviest part of the bike. So obviously once you break that seal, it's a lot of weight coming down. Just be ready to grab the wheel. So now that the wheel is removed, we now get to put the wheel back onto the bike. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get it in position, and then we're going to pull that pulley arm down again and just get everything looped on the inside of it. Once we've done that, then you're going to pull down on that jockey arm or pulley arm again, and this time you're going to get that chain slotted onto the proper cassette ring. and we're kind of going to push it in place. So one of the other guides we use on top of that chain is making sure that this rotor slots right in between the pads. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention as well is, I don't know if you can see it here, but there's this washer here that has a little L shape on the bottom. That's very critical because remember that orientation. If it ever falls off, you need to know how to put it back. So there's one on either side, and the L's point outward, and then they point down once you go to mount everything back up. So just remember that orientation for remounting your wheel. All right, now once you have everything sort of lined up in place, the next step is we're going to use our 10mm wrench here just to rotate this and help it get slotted in. If you can see on that left side, it was in the improper angle, so it wasn't going in. All right, and see now that the axle's been rotated properly, everything just slotted right in place for it. It can take a little, trial and error to get it all lined up properly. But once you get everything lined up and use that 10mm to rotate, everything slots up perfectly. So now that the axle's in place, notice I'm giving a little bit of a up pressure with my leg. Just keep that so it holds it into the dropouts all the way. And use your 18mm to tighten these down. And again, you're going to want to keep pressing up because even when I remove my leg just a little bit, this left side had popped out of its slot just a hair. We want everything to be nice and lined up when we tighten this down. All right, there we have it. The wheel has been slotted back. And then finally, the last steps we have, we're just going to slide that axle cover right back on and then plug it back in. If you look on the plug, you'll see arrows on either end of the plug. Just match up the arrows so they're pointing at each other, press it in, and then slot the cable back into its housing. Again, this is a Beach Babe, so it's along the inside. If you have a Beach Bum, it'll be running along the top, and then just clip it back into place. And that is all there is to it. You are all set, and your rear wheel has been removed and successfully reinstalled.